Okay, everyone out there, we're here to do the overview for the new Ford Ranger. We're at the Diesel Smart testing facilities. This is where we do all of the testing and the reprogramming for Diesel Smart here in Australia. Everyone's been extremely excited about having the new Ford Ranger coming out. We've all known that it's going to be a much larger car than the car before. We're extremely excited here at Diesel Smart's head office to be able to get our hands on one and start doing the R&D on the vehicle and start doing all the testing on it. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of a walk around the car, show you what the car is really like. First thing you can see is this model here is the 3.2 litre. This car comes out in three different size motors, the 2.2, 2.5 and the 3.2 litre 6-speed manual, and it also comes in 6-speed automatic. The first thing you notice straight away is the car is much bigger than the earlier one. I'm 6 foot tall. You can see that the vehicle is very high, quite large. I'll open up the driver's door. You can see the accessibility to the vehicle is really good. It's got a 6-speed manual, this one is. The heads-up display is quite nice as well. You can see the needles come up nice and blue, so that looks great. We'll take a walk around the back of the vehicle now, and then straight away you can see the tray is much larger, much deeper. It's definitely as big as what we'd all expected it to be. The stance of the vehicle looks awesome, looks great. We'll open up the door here now, have a look at the back of the vehicle. Now, as all of us know, dual cabs, when you're 6 foot tall like me, hopping the back is very difficult and very uncomfortable. So let's check this one out and see what it's like. You can see that there's plenty of room. There's plenty of leg room. There's plenty of room in here. My head's only just touching the roof. You could travel in the back of this car without any problems at all. That's definitely something that they've done right. Now I'll hop in the front just so that you can see that I haven't pulled the seat forward and make it look good. Hop in the front now. You can see my legs are pretty much out straight. So well done, Ford, you've got something right. Okay, what I'm going to do is we've printed off the Bible that Ford has put on the internet about the new Ford Ranger. It's quite a lot of pages, as you can see. What we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the actual dyno sheet for the Ford Ranger. It's a fairly small picture when you print it out, so we're just going to take a bit of a close-up there for you. Alright. Okay. So this dyno sheet is an actual engine dyno sheet, so it's not actually done on the rollers like what we do. It's actually done on an engine dyno. When you put it on a set of rollers like ours, obviously you're taking the power from the rear wheels, which is what we're interested about. We're interested in the exact power that's actually getting to the road. But what we can do is we can test it here, and we can gauge whether the figures that they're suggesting here are correct or whether they're incorrect with Australian standards. The other thing that we're going to have a look at is specifications. So if we flick through to Specification Sheet, here we go. You can see there, this is the specifications on the three different engines that the Ford is doing. The one that we're particularly interested in is the 3.2, but we'll start off with the 2.2 litre. It's a 4-cylinder, it makes 110 kilowatts at 3,700 RPM. That's at the flywheel, not at the wheels. And that's 375 Newton meters between 1,500 and 2,500 RPM at the flywheel. Now you've got the 2.5 litre. You can see there it's 122 kilowatts at 6,000 RPM. and 226 Newton meters of torque at 4,500. So two totally different torque bands there, as you can see. And then the 3.2 litre, which is what we're going to be testing today, which is 147 kilowatts at 3,000 RPM. So when we do our dyno sheet, we should see a peak at 3,000 RPM. 470 Newton meters of torque at 1,500 to 2,750. Now this car revs out to 5,000 RPM. Alright, so basically if you looked at that dyno sheet, engine dyno sheet that we were looking at before, you could see that the power comes up very quickly to a sharp peak and then falls off dramatically again. As far as the tuner is concerned, that would be not a very good tune at all. It should come over nice and smooth and fall off gradually. So once again, we're not 100% happy with the dyno sheet that they've provided there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we're going to set the car up on the dyno. We're going to hook our instruments up to it, and we're going to do a couple of probably 3 or 4 dyno runs to get some consistency and see what kilowatts it makes at the wheels and what torque it makes at the wheels. And once we've done that, then we're going to go out on the road and actually road test it on the road. We've just done the testing on the dyno with the new Ford Ranger. We've been able to do it in 4th and 5th gear. 5th gear in the Ford Ranger is 1:1, a bit like 4th gear in the earlier model Ford Ranger. We're able to test for boost as well. It ran a maximum of 20 pounds of boost through the mid-range, and then falls right off to 9 pounds of boost up high. Now we're going to have a look at the torque of the vehicle. The dotted line here that you can see running across here is the torque of the vehicle, and then you can see it falling off quite sharply. So if we run across here, we'll be able to see what the actual torque is. It's running around 500 Newton meters of torque at the wheels, between 470 and 500. So the actual specs that they have in the back of here, if we had taken another look at this, they're saying that it develops 470 Newton meters of torque at the flywheel. So we would have to disagree with that. We'd have to say that it's actually making more torque than what they're suggesting here. Kilowatt wise, they're saying 147 at the flywheel, and we've got 107.5 kilowatts at the wheels. So once again, we would say the 147 figure is probably a little bit low, and we would say that it's probably producing a little bit more than that. Now, this is a brand new car, so as you can see, it's is a little bit sketchy. You can see that it sort of falls up and down and all over the place. So when we develop the new module for the Ford Ranger, what we're going to be looking for is to develop more torque in the bottom range. Instead of running flat like this, we want to see a nice curve, and we want to see the torque hold for a lot longer. Basically it's falling off at 3,000 RPM around about here. So basically all of this area here, they don't hit the red line until 5,000. 5,000 is here. So basically all of this area here is a complete waste of time. So what we want to do is produce a nice curvature that continues on, and that will definitely make the car more efficient on fuel, and it will also make the vehicle a lot better to drive. What we're going to do now is we're going to take it out on the road and we're just going to run it in its standard form. What we're going to be listening for is we're going to be listening for diesel rattle, which is commonly known as diesel knock, which is basically detonation in the diesel, bad injection timing, and see what it actually feels like as we're driving it down the road. So what we want to do is just get a really good understanding for how the car feels in its standard form before we start trying to improve with the new diesel smart module for the new Ford Ranger. Right, let's take it out on the road. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to show you exactly how the common rail diesel works, and especially this new 5-cylinder Ford Ranger 3.2 litre. Now, first thing I want to bring your attention to is the injectors. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 injectors. Now these are all electronically controlled. Okay, so when we set our module up, we'll actually plug directly into each one of these injectors so that we have full control over the injector itself. This is the fuel rail. Now that's the fuel rail pressure sensor at the back of the fuel rail. That's where a chip would plug into the actual common rail, which is not the right thing to do because the injector is electronically controlled, and that's what we want to control. And these days with the common rail diesels, they have fuel relief valves in the actual rail, so when they ramp up the rail pressure with the chips, the fuel will just flow away anyway. So the chips are basically completely useless on the new common rail diesels. This is the map sensor, which is where we control boost, so we can increase the efficiency of the engine to make the engine a lot better on fuel economy, and also smoothing out a lot of the problems that they have from the factory. Okay, so what we're going to do now is show you that the piping comes down through to the front of the car. So the Ford Ranger is running a nice big intercooler in the front, and the piping comes back out on this side here through to the turbo, which you can see here. Now this is a multi-vane turbo. A multi-vane turbo, basically the way it works is it can bend it moves the blades backwards and forwards so that the boost comes on quicker, and therefore you can run the boost through for a lot longer as well. So they can bring the car on very, very quickly boost wise, which is exactly what you want with the diesel. So let's go out on the road and take it for a road test and see how the car actually drives on the road. Okay, we've moved the car out of the dyno room. We're now taking it for an actual test drive along the road. We're going to go down a couple of different places, somewhere where we can do 60 kilometers an hour, 80 kilometers an hour and 100 kilometers an hour, and just test the acceleration of the vehicle, how smooth the vehicle accelerates, see if we can feel any issues that we feel need to be fixed when we develop the new module for the Ford Ranger 3.2 litre. The car doesn't feel anywhere near as bouncy as the earlier Ford Ranger to drive. It accelerates quite smoothly. We've only gone up to about 2,000 RPM so far. I'm just going to wait until we go into an 80 kilometre zone so that we can go a little bit quicker. Going to slow down here. I'm in third gear now, and flat the floor. It starts to get quite a bit of diesel rattle after about right on 3,000 RPM. You can hear it, and it holds revs. Is we're going to do a first, second, third and fourth power run, basically flat to the floor on the road, just see what the acceleration is like. Here we go. Flat to the floor. You can really sort of feel it sort of go between 2,000 and 3,000. 3.5, it sort of starts falling off again. And it holds revs really badly. Well, you take your foot off the throttle, put your foot in the clutch, and she just sits up, the RPM just sits up. So that's something that, you know, we definitely need to fix. it's still not too bad. Like, acceleration and that for a standard car is still not too bad. But the good thing is, we'll definitely be able to make it a hell of a lot better. Okay, in summary, we think that the new Ford Ranger is actually not a bad car. Nice car to drive. The power of the car and the torque of the car, I think it's definitely underpowered, but being a new model, that's to be expected. The good news is diesel smart modules are going to be available very, very soon for the new Ford Ranger, and we expect big things from them. A lot better fuel economy, a lot better towing power, and definitely better all-out power. So keep watching, Diesel Smart's coming soon.